Hello, my name is Ryan Phillips. I'm a master's student in the Department of Biological and Agricultural Engineering. This is my project on the analysis of Sentinel-2 data to detect crop damage. My main research questions are: is there spatial variation in a field over time with increasing crop damage? So I conducted an experiment last summer into the fall, and I was increasing the amount of damage in a field through physical damage. And so I want to see if I'm looking at a small zone with just that damage, or a zone with no damage, or the entire field with damage and no damage. Um, is there a difference in the amount of variability in those zones? And does it depend on the size of the zone? And really, are there any trends through the NDVI, the normalized difference vegetation index, through time? These are my data sources. I was using Sentinel-2 data at 10-meter resolution through the USGS Earth Explorer. So I downloaded all of the bands, but for this analysis, you really only need the near infrared and the red bands to create the NDVI. But I still used everything so I could have composite images. I made my own zones for the shape files as for vector data, so there's really no scale or metadata associated with those. And then I also had a UAV image of the study area that I collected when I was doing my data. So my research is in the using UAVs and not satellite data, but it was down at the 2.2 centimeter resolution range. So again, some data sources were the Sentinel-2 imagery on the left, and so you kind of get an idea of where this is in Goldsboro, North Carolina. A little more zoomed in on the top right, and then all the way down to, you can see the damage zones in the bottom right image. And so this was down to a scale of 1 to 900. That's again with very high resolution imagery. The methods I used: the vegetation index, so it's band combinations and it's describing plant conditions. So you can imagine there's a big difference in using the UAV imagery and satellite imagery, where we have 2.2 centimeters per pixel versus 10 meters per pixel. So a lot more information is being put and kind of gathered into one pixel. I was using the NDVI, which is the ratio of the NIR minus the red divided by the NIR plus the red. And then I was going to extract zonal statistics, which are the mean and the standard deviation of that index from each of my blue zone, which is the whole field. The pink has all undamaged, and then the yellow is the damaged portion, which is drawn directly from the UAV image. This is how my data processing went. The overall Sentinel-2 tile, which is collected August 9th, and I had multiple tiles to look at over time, but just for this portion, I'm showing August 9th. And the false color image on more zoomed in, so I built the composite, then did raster arithmetic to build this NDVI. So I took those two bands from the composite to build the NDVI, extracted zonal statistics from each of those, which is seen in the chart at the bottom, and then visualized the data in this graph on the right. And those are over time how the NDVI changed within each zone. I then have maps of the August 9th capture date, 19th, and there's more damage in the damage zone as this goes on, but the crop is also progressing through its health. And so you can see as it starts to get towards its maturity date, it's going through what's called senescence, where the crop is drying down, and so the NDVI is decreasing because there's less greenness in the plant. So my final results is that there is a downward trend of NDVI over time, and this due to the senescence of the crop. But what we were looking at was, can we distinguish between the different zones? And there's part of the question that wants to be able to distinguish and part that doesn't, because that would mean the whole field follows the same trend if you cannot. But if you can, that means you can actually detect the damage. And what we see is the smaller zone has less variability, which is the damaged. It tends to have the smallest error bars on each week. And that's just the standard deviation above and below the mean. And then the whole field has the largest standard deviation overall. So there's more going on, and so we expect that there to be more variability. And finally, there's numeric but not really spatial distribution described here. So to do that, we might need a different sort of data analysis, and then further analysis to see if the trend lines of these three zones are indeed different. And with that, thank you for listening to the presentation.